Okay.
What's up, Rooks? Welcome back to another episode of On the Castles, the show where we visit all the castles within the UK. Today we're here at Pontefract Castle, in a place where it gets its name from, Pontefract. It's quite nice. It's situated pretty high above the rest of the town, which most castles are, to be fair, but you know, it means you get a good view out that way. It's unobstructed, which is nice. It's quite historic. There's a lot of history to it, which you will be hearing later on. Let's get into this one.
Hello. Well, it's a shame that there isn't a bit more left of Pontefract Castle, because it was at one point one of the largest castles in England, and certainly the most important castle in the north of England. Edward I famously said that he who holds Pontefract holds the north, and on a number of occasions it was the scene of important events in royal history. I'll try and run through them for you now. It was built by somebody called Albert de Lacy, or at least he founded the first buildings here. He fought at Hastings, and William the Conqueror gave him this northern manor to look after. One of his descendants then upset William's son, Henry I, by siding with his brother Robert, and the castle passed into the crown, into the property of the crown. And then for the next 100 years or so, the de Lacys bargained with the crown for the right to live here and run the manor, and there was a de Lacy amongst the barons that forced King John to sign Magna Carta. After that, the de Lacys occupied it fairly peacefully until they married into the royal house of Lancaster, and it was here, just outside the walls, in 1322, that Thomas of Lancaster was beheaded at the orders of Edward II after rebelling against him. Edward then forgave his brother Henry, who took command of the castle, and from him it passed on to his son-in-law, John of Gaunt. And it was a Lancastrian property until 1399, when Richard II tried to steal it from Henry, John of Gaunt's son, but Henry defeated Richard and deposed him, and it's thought that Richard was starved to death in a dungeon here. We might actually get to see it a bit later on, but nobody's quite sure how he died. That was in 1400. 1483, it was the site of the execution of Anthony Woodville and Richard Grey, who were perceived enemies of Richard III, obstacles to him getting the throne. And really that really doomed Richard's reign, really. If he'd tried to come to some accommodation with them, things might have turned out a lot better for him than they did. Anyway, of course, as we know, Richard was displaced by the Tudors, and it was here that Catherine Howard is thought to have first slept with Thomas Culpeper, and that led to her getting a head chopped off. There's quite a few heads rolling here, aren't there? And then it next appeared in history in the Civil War, when it changed hands about 3 times, and there were a number of sieges, and eventually the townspeople actually begged Oliver Cromwell to demolish it, which he did, and the site has been crumbling sort of ever since, really. I first came here in 1983 when it was sort of disappearing into the grass and looked very neglected, but since then the City Council at Wakefield have realised, it's a valuable resource, and it's been a lot better looked after since. We came here about 4 years ago when I wasn't really prepared for a castle with so much history, so I wasn't very satisfied with the footage, and we also learned about the dungeon tours, which we didn't manage to do last time. We have booked on this time. They don't allow filming of the tours, but we'll tell you what it was like afterwards. I think this is the gatehouse, or what's left of it, this bit of a tower here. We'll go and have a look at the highest standing part of the castle a bit later on. We'll try and save the best for last. But we'll go round anti-clockwise. You get a good idea of the scale of the castle as it once was, and just how little of it there is left. Yeah, this is telling you a story from the Civil War. Remember I said there were a lot of comings and goings during that period, and this tells you how a group of royalist soldiers managed to disguise themselves as just visiting tourists and take the castle from the parliamentarians. But eventually, after Charles I's execution, the commander surrendered the castle. This is the remains of the Constable Tower, which once went 6 feet out from the curtain wall, and there was a guardrobe here which allowed human waste to be directly diverted onto the heads of besiegers. And you can see the remains of a fireplace down there, and this was the target of sapping during those parliamentary sieges. So this fell down actually of its own accord. I don't think Cromwell had to demolish this one. I think it just fell down by itself. Nice view out towards the parish church, which is itself worth a visit. I believe what we're walking through here was once the chapel, and apparently 6 skeletons have been uncovered during excavations here. Yeah, just a bit further out you get an even better view of the church, which is part ruined. So yeah, there's definitely a story to tell there. I think we'll have a look at that afterwards. And we're overlooking part of an internal structure. I'm not quite sure what that used to be, but we will see if that board tells us a bit more as we get down there. As you can see here, there is a fair amount of the curtain wall still standing, and I presume that might have been once a moat where the road now is. Yeah, it's certainly picked a great site here. I'm just wondering now if this was the chapel. Maybe I've interpreted the board wrongly when it said to the left, because this has a more ecclesiastical look than the building behind it.
You can see some ornate pillars there.
Yes.
With the names of them.
Yeah.
Look like it would lead to a vaulted ceiling.
Yeah, you can really see how so much of the stonework has been pillaged over the years. You've just got little bits of dressed stone left, and otherwise you're looking at the rubble filling behind it. Now this is interesting, looking down from the curtain wall. There is a structure pointing out that way, quite some distance from the castle, so maybe that's the remains of another tower that projected out from beyond the walls. Okay, this is the remains of the kitchen. You can see that some of the stone work on this side has been discoloured by the heat from the fires, and it was also used during the Civil War both to make weaponry and also to make siege money. They actually created coins here, and you've actually found some of the clippings from the coins when they've been excavated. That clearly is a modern edition. I don't know really why they've put that there.
All in the aim of education.
Okay, so these were the main kitchens for the castle.
There'd be a furnace here.
Yeah, we're speculating that these circular works are furnaces.
It will make sense for the shape.
Yeah.
But if you look actually there, you can see there's some pink
Yes,
bits of stone,
yes.
which are the exact same shade as where
Yeah.
it's saying they've been discovered by heat.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, I think we're doing this walking around the castle in the opposite direction to that which they expected us to. So we've come across the board for this, and it confirms that Simon was right. These were actually ovens, and that remaining sort of remains of a chimney is actually the shaft for the guardrobe. So you know, you have the toilet waste going right through the kitchen, so not hygienically not particularly great practice. Yeah, we're getting towards the more substantial part of the castle here, and you can see there that you've got a real killing ground where the besiegers would have to endure all manner of missiles thrown at them. But you can see also that they've put some modern stonework in here for safety purposes. Stop modern day people falling down there and getting killed. Okay, this is the most substantial part of the castle left standing, the tower at one corner. Obviously it was once higher than this, and apparently had an impressive crenellated gallery at the top, but unfortunately it's now somewhat reduced, but it still when you're standing looking at it from below, it still looks quite impressive. Now I'm guessing this staircase, little staircase, was the sally port where the defenders could come out of here and attack their besiegers at opportune points. Does look like it's been I mean that walling is obviously more modern, so at one point or at some time perhaps they let you come up here, maybe on when there are guided tours of the site in an afternoon, and maybe this gate is open for those, but don't take my word for it. So I think what we'll do now is one of our famous 360 shots. Do you agree, Simon?
Yep.
Are you going to do it?
Probably.
Go on then.
So I'll stand right at the top by the flag so you can get the best view. This would be so much nicer if I had the drone and didn't fly it into a tree. Yes, I am an idiot.
Hello, well this is the entrance now to the dungeons, and for a reasonable price you can get a tour of the dungeons here, and a guide giving you a history of the castle and specifically the dungeons themselves. You can see graffiti dating from the 1649 siege, and remains of the wine cellar and an old spiral staircase. Did you enjoy the tour, Simon?
I did.
Yeah, the staff are a bit camera shy, so you're not allowed to actually film the tour, but yeah, I'd give it a thumbs up if you're visiting. Okay, so this is the bottom of what I now realise is the West Tower. It's thought that Pontefract once had 12 towers in all, including the keep, and as you can see, yeah, what I said, this is the most impressive part that's still standing. Couple of windows still survived there. And this is the remains of the Sollyport.
Oh, is that the way into that sort of kill hole?
I think so.
Are we going in, or do you not want to die?
Yeah, I think we'd have to. Okay, there is a cafe and a barn, a cafe and a visitor centre in this more recent barn that was constructed within the site. And of course a gift shop.
Right, well, if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and a subscribe. Leave a nice comment, don't leave a nasty one. Or, in fact, do, because any publicity is good publicity, said people who have never received bad publicity. Also, share it with your mates if you have any. I love you, thank you.
Hello, what's up, Rocks? Welcome back to All the Castles, the show where we revisit all the castles in the UK. I don't know why I'm not being the usual hyper person right now. Anyway, this one was started sometime in 1070 by a name I can't remember.
John de Lacy.
Oh yeah, John de Lacy. Yeah, so
And what's it called? You haven't said the name yet, Simon.
forgot the name.
Pontefract Castle.
Nice.
There is a cafe and visitor centre here. Neither of which were there when I first came here 38 years ago, when it was sort of mouldering away into the grass, but there's a bit more going on now.